ulti.TV.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ulti.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our
our
work
work.
to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the ultimate world and beyond.
Welcome back to Nottingham and welcome back to UK Ultimate National Championships. We've got the final in the Open Division coming right up. It's going to be Clapham versus Chevron. Myself, Tom Stiles, alongside the inimitable Benji Reese, who've been rushing around trying to collect rosters just before.
Why do these teams have so many players?
They do. Well, big squads, big squads. And it's been a fantastic weekend here in Nottingham. We're at the Nottingham University Highfields Sports Ground for the first big Ultimate tournament in the last 2 years, and it has been good to be back, and it's good to have you back with us watching live on YouTube. The game is about to get underway, and if you can and you're watching live, just spread the word for us. Just find the link, whack it into your Facebook feed, say this is what I'm watching now, whack it on Twitter, just do a little bit of the social networking so get the word out there. ulti.TV providing all the coverage for free and live and forever, and we'd love to have your support in doing that. And we'll tell you more about that right now. Chevron, the second seed against Clapham, the number one seed, the defending champion, and straight away a big disc goes up. It's going to be chased down, but it's going to run out of bounds. Nothing that Chevy could do out of that. Rolo Sachs-Dixon has to watch as the disc disappears from view.
He just kind of ran out of gas a little bit at the end and couldn't quite maintain the speed. I'll tell you what, that is a box office matchup. Talk about the height there. There must be, what, easily 13 feet combined between Rolo Sachs-Dixon and Charlie Butt from Clapham. So if there's an aerial duel to be had there, wow, I'm looking forward to that.
Clapham down the far sideline with Rag, brings it back to the centre. '16 shirt of Ghana. Over to this near side. Slaughter. Back into the hands of Nathan Rag. On the far side, Conor McHale. Sprinting with the hands raised. Clapham with their usual calm offence, working it round the back. McHale adjusts the run. The 18 shirt of Charlie Butt not available, and a disc into the ground.
First turnover for the Clapham D-line. Tight pressure on the mark there from, I think that's Tom Hodgett, but he's actually wearing a spare shirt from Josh Kime, so evidently he's lost his own.
There's Josh Kime, the two number one shirts. We'll try and keep them apart. Dathan on the far side finds Colt Hammer. Colt Hammer's got Turner cutting, trying to get free of Rag. Finds Hodgett. Hodgett looking downfield, surveying the options, continues the cut. Oh, nice work from Rolo Sachs-Dixon. Eventually ending up with a hold for Chevron, but they did have to work for it.
Yeah, it wasn't clean, but it got the job done. But he makes a spectacular play to try and lay out for it. It's just out of his reach in the end. And this is why throwing precision and accuracy is so important, because if it doesn't have exactly enough shape and bend on it, there's no way that Butt doesn't get a hand on it, I think. But Hodgett's a master of this, perfectly weighted throws. He's a player I've been a huge admirer of for a long time, and this time gets just enough shape underneath it, and Butt is agonisingly close from his perspective. But Chevron don't care. They go 1-0 up.
We are delighted to be back with you after a sort of 2-year hiatus. I'd kind of forgotten what Benji looked like, but
I mean, to be honest, there are times when I forgot what I look like, and I've got mirrors at home. So it's been weird. It's been a weird 2 years, Tom.
But we're back, and we're very happy to be providing coverage for you as Briggs cuts across downfield. The inimitable figure of Justin Ford. Back to Briggs. Ford cuts for the reset. He's going to have to get the motor on. Somehow his motor doesn't feel like a motor at all. Mead. Briggs pops it in the front corner, and a very easy point for Clapham.
I think if anyone ever wants to find out what the secret of perpetual motion is, we just need to find out whatever's powering Justin Ford, because he just keeps on going and going. Arguably the best player this country's ever produced. Never seems to age, and that time, just, you know, we know for years he was kind of seen more as a downfield threat. But he's so comfortable doing anything, really. This one just kind of putting that little toss out to the break slide. Clapham running a dominator-style set with 3 handlers in the backfield, almost running an indoor-style weave between them. And then Tom Cartwright times the cut perfectly, gets 3 on the far side of the end zone, and we're tied at 1 apiece. Little bit of a breeze still here at the Highfield Sports Complex, but it's warmed up a bit from earlier, I think, which is lovely to see and feel.
Yes, and always with the last final of the day, there's people on the sideline who've come together after their tournament has come to a close to watch the final. There are games still going on in the men's division behind us, but the women's tournament has finished, the mixed tournament has finished. And so there's a lot of people not getting in their cars and rushing off just yet. And the atmosphere will build. You can't see all of them because they're standing underneath our pavilion here. The far side line is pretty much exclusively for the players as the flick goes downfield. Quick grab by Deck Cartwright. Toss across to Cheeseman. Both those players have got relationships on the other side of the team, but a grab by Turner in the far corner for Chevron. So yeah, Cheeseman used to play with Clapham. How do you think this game is going to be for him?
I mean, you like to think that obviously that everyone's trying their best all the time, but maybe there is a little bit extra on the line for Cheeseman. And that matchup there's really interesting because marking up against Cheeseman there is Josh Eels, who previously of Devon and of 2 years ago when we last had a season, of Chevron. So they've almost switched teams there. So, you know, once upon a time they could have been on the opposite sides of this matchup. As it is, Cheeseman marshalling things in the backfield and Sam Turner getting horizontal for the score. All hold so far. Chevron lead 2-1.
Yeah, a couple of turnovers in that opening point. You can't underestimate that how much of a favourite Clapham are in this game. Chevron have had to fight hard to get here. They had to come through a sudden death game in their semi-final against Alba, the Scottish team.
And Alba had the disc on Universe Point as well.
So they will be tired, but nothing fires up the Chevy team like a game against their age-old rivals. History books will show that this team has met more than once as Briggs tries to find Ford, who just arcs the run and then floats a disc into the path. And it's a very easy take for Alex Amela. And they level it up. And Briggs to Ford is a great combination.
Axel Amala with the score in the end. Just good backup there. You know, and then Ford can just toss a little lead pass like you drill. And I think the scouting report is generally out on Josh Briggs. You know that he loves to bomb those flick howitzers downfield. The question is, can you stop it? On that occasion, they couldn't. Andy Turner's drawn the tough Justin Ford matchup there. And I think Ford suckers him in a little bit here, gets him underneath the disc, and then Ford, tracks it well, makes the catch comfortably. Again, we talked about it in the mixed final. The art of doing all the dirty work before the disc even gets there, and a beautifully weighted lead pass to Axel Armala, and now it is 2 apiece.
Yeah, thank you very much to all the Patreons who are getting behind the coverage here from ulti.TV. Ulti.TV will always broadcast free to air with no paywalls, but we do appreciate the support. And Howard Rees has become a Patreon and a greatest member, and Zen has also become a member. Thank you very much to both of you for your support. We really do appreciate it. If you'd like to join in supporting Ulti.TV, go to ulti.tv on that there internet, and all the details are there. You can search ulti.tv on Patreon and join up and support us as much as you can. We very much appreciate it.
I think Hodgett has now changed jerseys, so he's now in a different jersey that is not his own, but at least it's not someone who's playing on the same line. Here's Declan Cartwright, whose brother Thomas, of course, is on the opposite side today.
Turner for Chevron. Hodgett. Cheeseman cutting. Roller Sachs Dixon darting forward. Dathan trying to make space. On that far side is Colthammer, which was the target, but he's got close attention from Hayden Slaughter. I think he was a bit surprised that that disc was heading his way.
High stall, the disc had to go somewhere.
The 43 shirt for Clapham is not on our roster. If you know who he is, drop it in the comments, please.
I'm pretty sure his first name's Oscar, but I can't remember what his surname is. This is the tragedy of being away for 2 years and trying to scramble rosters just before a game.
I think that's Andy Hillman in the 37 shirt putting it forward. Conor McHale sends the disc into the end zone. The space and time for our unrostered player to catch it with a kick spike into the air. Great work for Clapham. Another, and that's the first break of the game, isn't it? And you can hear the familiar chant of more as the Clapham team roar into action.
More. How do Clapham like it? And they like it a lot. That's the beautiful D-line offense. They got a turn on the first point of the game, and they worked at a decent length of the field before they eventually turned over. But so far, Chevron's D-line hasn't been able to generate any pressure on Clapham's offense, but the Clapham D-line, I mean, it doesn't play offense like a D-line because it's so smooth and it's so well connected that they could easily well be the O-line, I think. I said slightly hysterically, with lack of a voice. Sorry, everyone.
We'll forgive you, Benji.
That's very generous.
So, Conor McHale with the assist.
Let me do a little bit of digging.
You do a little bit of digging. I'll look on the comments, and between us, we'll definitely be able to figure out who number 43 is. If you do know, save us the time and just pop it in the comments, please. We'd very much appreciate that.
So offense now for Chevron.
With Ethan Morrell. I asked who if there's any standout young players, and they name-checked Ethan Morrell. It's like, I'm sure you name-checked him as the standout young player 3 years ago, Chevy, but he's obviously still doing the biz.
Unfortunately, they start them so young, and Chevron's done a really good job historically of bringing these young players through, and there is Morrell connecting in emphatic fashion.
Big target in the end zone. Brings it down. It's Deck Cartwright and Tom Hodgett in the corner with the quick shot from Sam Turner. Chevron hold. But can they do something on defense now?
That's the question for Chevron. They've done the first part of the task. That's putting their O points in. What can they cook up to try and out-scheme, maybe outthink Clapham, which is a lot easier said than done, because they're a team that's done so much over the years. These guys have seen and played against everything, so nothing that you're doing is truly going to surprise them. That's a fantastic grab by Cartwright under pressure as well, by the way.
So Oscar Mondiano.
That's the one.
Mondiano?
That is the one. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Internet. You are wonderful. We will do our best to get that updated.
I shall do that right now. Sounds like the air ambulance is back and landing in the field next to us. So if you hear these helicopter sounds but you can't quite work out why, the complex is used, one of the fields is used as an air ambulance. So the helicopter flies in there and the ambulance takes them down to the hospital down the road. Hopefully, though, fingers crossed, we won't need to be hearing too much of it.
Familiar figure of Tom Abrams' first contact with the disc alongside James Mead. Abrams in the 32 shirt there, 34 is Mead, punching it down the wing as Chevy, a bit more of a poachy look. They did say they were going to try something a little bit more poachy because of how successful CUSB were when they beat Clapham in the European Championships in 2019.
The question is, I think now for 2 years, the one thing that everyone's been trying to do is, Clapham really struggle against poachy looks. Big blade, Ashley O with the indoor style throw, makes a comfortable grab. That's not going to trouble him at all. And again, you give Josh Briggs the license to scheme and while away, to find those flicks deep. He's going to bite your hand off at every single opportunity.
He absolutely is. So Briggs with the shot deep.
Before they so rudely interrupted me by scoring a goal, which is most inconsiderate, for 2 years I think the thing that's been hanging over Clapham is that loss to CUSB. Not just because they lost, but in kind of the fashion that they did so. And all everyone's been thinking for 2 years is, we got to do some poachy stuff. We got to do some poachy stuff. We got to do some poachy stuff. And obviously I think it's worth a try. But I would be very surprised if the one thing that Clapham had worked on over the pandemic and over the 2-year absence is trying to get that practice against that style of defence. And obviously it's a bit different trying to do it in training as opposed to doing it in a national final. But I imagine that they have done some forward planning into it.
Well, let's hope so. So Clapham are 1 break up and 4-3 up against Chevron, these age-old rivals.
I can't remember the last time there was a national final that wasn't Clapham versus Chevron. It's
2005 apparently.
I'm sure that Fire have made a final in the time that I was playing Frisbee, so it's definitely after that.
So 2005 was the last final that didn't have Chevron or Fire.
Oh yes, yeah, Fire have made 1 or 2 in there as well.
They definitely did.
But I think Fire's well, it's kind of been snuffed out, at least in terms of being a finals contender for the meantime.
Yeah, so the spectators are now being moved back off the player line, so the players can be moved back onto the player line because they're currently on the edge of the field. And they shouldn't be. So
Every team so far this weekend has obeyed by the player line, and then all of a sudden we get to the open final and it's like it doesn't exist.
I think Cy Hill is now patrolling and he'll be giving short shift to everybody. Josh Kime,
what a man,
through to Deck Cartwright. Steve Colthammer steps forward, using his experience to find a free shot to Dom Dathan, which I think was the target, but it was I'm not sure quite what went wrong there, but Dathan was looked a little bit flat-footed and caught out by that. Hillman spreads it around the back to Felix Martin. Conor McHale sends it deep. There's 2 Clapham players. Are they going to get in each other's way? No. Good communication downfield, and it's Ollie Gordon bringing it in, the number 14 shirt.
I think Ollie Gordon he's using his experience and his tenure there to say, come on, mate. This is this is the veteran play. It's like,
oh gee.
This is mine. Sorry,
yes.
Sorry, young pup. You will have your day in future. And also, Hillman would have been it would have been a comfortable grab for him to make, but maybe it was slightly easier for Ollie Gordon. And the most important thing there is that you don't take each other out, and you are gracious enough to say, I will. One of us has to back out here, and Ollie Gordon has probably pulled rank there. Good communication to know that Hillman could leave it, and now Clapham opening up a little bit of a lead. Another break there gives them a 5-3 scoreline.
Yeah, and second assist from Conor McHale. 2 assists for Josh Briggs as well.
Both of Clapham's breaks coming from assists from Conor McHale.
Yes, when your most assists are coming from one of your D-line handlers, you know the other team are in trouble.
Generally the way it goes.
And everybody's favourite game, will Clapham's O-line turnover? Not yet. Dathan to Kime.
Going for a zone, it's looks diamondish downfield. They've now transitioned into one-on-one, finding where the open player is, and Lewis eventually gets his mark on Lloyd Cheeseman.
Cheeseman is prevented from making that shot, and I imagine that's a matchup that's happened in many Clapham practices before Cheeseman moved across to join the ranks of Chevron. Kime finding Turner upfield, turning around is Dathan. Very quick set of steps to get himself free. Morell's cut is blindside, but then goes down the line. Big reset to Kime, but they've lost a lot of yards in the process. Dathan's available on the reset. Cartwright now. Declan Cartwright, brother Tom playing in the Clapham shirt. Cheeseman finds Hodgett down the line. Hodgett looks upfield. Morell darting backwards and forwards, eventually gets free of the attentions of Alistair McNeil. Down the line is Hodgett, doesn't quite milk it in. He's going to be knocking on the door now. Can Chevron punch in their offensive point? Over the top, Declan Cartwright, the grateful recipient of that nice disc that died into his arms.
Again, it's using that nice shape on the disc, using the roll curve to take it past the bidding Clapham defender. In this case, it's Josh Eales, and that was a nice calm O point for Chevron. Didn't turn it over that time. You mentioned at one point that they had a big reset, that it lost them quite a lot of yardage. I think if you're a team like Chevron, you have to say, you know what, unless we're right at the back of the end zone, the yardage is a little bit irrelevant because, you know, because we should be able to score from anywhere on the field. It's not so hugely windy. We don't have to play a field position game necessarily.
Absolutely.
You can take the loss of yardage, and sometimes it actually helps because then it gives you more deep space to hit.
Benji Rees alongside Tom Stiles for this open final game from ulti.TV. We're at UK Ultimate National Championships. It's good to be back. It's good to have you with us.
It's so good to be back. It's so good to be back.
Wherever you're joining us from, thank you very much for watching. ulti.TV broadcasting on YouTube, both live and for watching whenever you feel like it. And we do appreciate your support, whether that's sharing the link or becoming one of our Patreons, which is now an option. You can fund the coverage of Ultimate in the UK, in Europe and around the world by directly supporting ulti.TV's coverage through Patreon. And we've had a lot of people sign up this weekend. So what better way to say thanks to the ulti.TV crew and fund Ultimate coverage directly through people who are part of the Ultimate community by getting on board with the Patreon subscription. Josh Briggs floats a disc across to Axel Amala, who brings it back to Briggs now. And he sends it deep straight away. Ollie Gordon underneath it. He can't quite build it into the end zone, but threatens a little pop back. The Chevron defense has arrived in numbers and very, very quickly, but they cannot stop TC from putting it in. And the other Cartwright scores for Clapham.
So that is now 3 big flick hucks from Josh Briggs. And at this point, you can't say it's a surprise for Chevron because even before this game, that is the trademark throw from Josh Briggs. It is the big forehand bomb. And it was just swinging it around the back. Eventually, the mark's a bit late to get there. Briggs's eyes light up. Gordon, as you mentioned, crossed over to the O-line for this point. He can't quite milk it in, but they get an end zone set very quickly. 2, 1 goes one way, 1 goes the other. Cartwright, just little shimmy shake. The wall is stuck in the mud, and Cartwright gets free on the open side, and Clapham's 2-point advantage is restored at 6-4. Yeah,
thanks. Good to have age-old ex-commentator for the Ultimate Scene, Steve Giguere, in the comments saying Tom and Benji look like a movie poster for twins. Now, that makes you Danny DeVito, me Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'm sorry.
I'm fine with that.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, comedy genius. Thank you very much. And Danny DeVito, socialist legend, apparently. Genuinely, like, very hardcore on it.
Weirdly, Steve Giguere has a cardboard cutout of Danny DeVito in his house at the moment.
Why is that weird? Do you not?
I put mine somewhere else. I don't know why. Conor McHale with a big high-flying floaty disc into... Oh, did it land on the line? Hodgett says yes.
I mean, he had a better view of it than I did from up here, and if he says it's on the line, I could take his word for it.
It's on the line, and there's a bit of a conversation taking place.
The line is not part of the field is the important thing. So if you're on the line, you are out.
You are out. Hillman takes up defensive duties, marking Hodgett. Thompson comes back in, and the reset goes back to Dathan. Dathan looking at a few stumbling runs and eventually finds its way to Morrell. Morrell posts it around to Cheeseman. Cheeseman looks up, finds Cartwright already cutting back towards him. Turner now. Colthammer had gone, but there was good coverage on that. Hodgett looks, Cheeseman, and the floaty disc is just way too high, too much air on. He knew the moment he'd released that disc, Cheeseman had thrown the disc out of bounds.
He's capable of hitting those throws, but it's such a high degree of difficulty. There's so little margin for error. I'll tell you what, he's right, by the way.
He is. He was bang on the line, wasn't he?
Yeah. And so if you don't absolutely nail it, you have a situation like that where it is comfortably out of bounds, and Clapham looking to apply the pressure once more. And their D-line's only turned it over once.
McHale, the provider of two of those points. Oh, and a mistake from the Clapham D-line. They gift it back to Chevy. Can they put it in this time? He sends it deep. Morrell, the target, is going to be chased down hard. Double-handed defensive block in the end zone, preventing the point. What an incredible layout bid that was from Felix Martin.
Do you think that Felix Martin thought he had something to make up for? The disc just somehow popped straight through his grasp. Hodgett, usually such a reliable distributor, taking the good options. This is a good option, and it requires a sensational Superman-style bid to come through, or try to grab it with two hands as well, just to properly close the door. In the end, he can only tip it on, and it goes out of the back of the end zone, gets big oohs and ahs from the crowd, and Clapham have another break opportunity.
They do earn their position as the #1 team in the UK, don't they?
I mean, there's a reason they've won the national championships. Was it 20 years in a row? Well, not 20 years in a row, 20 tournaments in a row.
20,
because
yes.
They did not win it last year because we did not have it. But there's a reason they haven't lost on this stage for so many years.
Hillman now playing with James Freeman. Freeman back to Hillman. Freeman trying to find a way through down the line, finds his way past Cheeseman, who has to do work to do to catch up. Conor McHale, the target. Turner underneath this, and it goes to ground. Thompson comes up with it in his hand, but it's going to be called down. It's going to be called down with a certain defiance from Dom Dathan. And Thompson eventually agrees.
My initial thought that it was down and he'd caught it on the one hop. Unfortunately, one hand, one bounce is not a rule, but it should be if it looks as cool as this. I mean, Conor McHale, he's ambitious with this because he's given up a bit of height to Sam Turner. So he knows that he's got to try and go for it early, and he kind of overcommits. He overestimates what he can do, and you can see that on the slow-mo replay that indeed it was on the hop from Joe Thompson. And so Chevron, this is their third possession this point. Can they finally work it in? Hodgett's wide open as they make use of a blown switch.
Cheeseman to Hodgett. Hodgett to Turner. Morrell's free in the middle, gets looked off. Back to Hodgett. Cartwright coming underneath. Goes for the 1-2. Hodgett's looking down the line, but the fast feet of Felix Martin again preventing that pass. Hodgett, it's a lovely break from Morrell. Inside, opens up the option to Cheeseman. Hodgett going back for the dump. Going to have to take it soon. The stall count's going high, and a hand block. The outstretched hand of Duncan Webster says no to the Cheeseman option, and there's a big height mismatch between those two players.
I think what's happening here is I hope that Webster's getting a lot of help for the sideline. So Colt Hammer there is so clearly the option that I imagine he's getting the word to shift right a little bit, because he knows that's where Cheeseman has to go. He can't not go there.
Eating up the yards on the far side is Ben Funk, who finds Webster available, continuing the flow. Funk and McHale combine, sends the fake, looks to Hillman in the end zone. Bit of contact. Dom Dathan getting uncharacteristically flustered by the situation, really unhappy with the way his O-line are playing. McHale just shrugging it off and eventually finds Hillman, and you can see how frustrated Chevron are, giving up the disc so many times in that point. How many turnovers did you count there, Benji?
3 turnovers, I think. And, third break of the game for Clapham. Third assist of the game for
Conor McHale.
For Conor McHale, he was assisted every one of Clapham's D-line points. The reason they were able to, they kind of got going at such speed, they raced away, is because Colt Hammer went to put a force on Ben Funk, and Ben Funk got the disc out quickly, and he was already off to the races. Colt Hammer was beaten from the off, which is kind of a rarity, and he looked tired. He didn't look like he didn't have the energy to catch up at the speed what his teammates would probably have hoped. And by the time they were really able to get things set up, they were already on the doorstep of the end zone. Even if you are beaten, you still need to hustle to get back into position to prevent them really running away with it, or literally and metaphorically. Loved the way they ran the gauntlet, though. It's so smart, because so often players are like, oh, I'm really free deep, I'll just go, I'm not being marked, I'll just go deep. It seems like a sensible option, but obviously if you're doing that, generally the one way to draw defenders towards you if you're free is by going deep, because everyone's like, oh no, there's a player free deep, and so everyone swarms to cover them. But actually, if you're free, not only are you a good option to pass to, but you can get the disc away easily as well, so you can just quickly scurry past and get a whole trunk full of yardage before the defenders have a chance to catch up.
Well, you can see us all wrapped up warm. I'm wrapped up warm. I don't know how you're staying as warm as you are, Benji. I'm actually dressed smart. Check this out. Look, I've got my.
Look at that. I mean, I wore a shirt as well. It's a really nice shirt. It's got tacos on it.
That is lovely.
Yeah,
that's lovely.
you.
So myself, Tom Styles, alongside Benji Reese. One of my favourite commentary partnerships, Benji, I think I would say. Since 2015.
I've enjoyed it greatly over the years since you first took me under your wing, metaphorically.
7-4 is the score here at the UK Ultimate National Championship final. It's Clapham in the white shirts, Chevy in the blue, and the tower of the Trent building from Nottingham University just pierces the tree-lined horizon of University Boulevard. Those of you who have been watching for Tram Cam will notice there's not been one in a while. But what there has been is some great quality ultimate, as that is a pull right into the middle of the end zone. And a fluttery start. That's not the sort of thing you want as an O-line.
This is where they would much rather see Rolo Sachs-Dixon with the disc handling as opposed to being a threat downfield.
Yeah, and a block from Nathan Ragg, who throws himself at that one, gets the touch. Chevy starting to look like the wheels are falling off. Clapham could punch this one in to take the half. Be a very, very strong first half performance from the Londoners. And Hayden Slaughter just dances through the pack and lands daintily footed in the front corner for the point, for the half, and for a dominant performance for Clapham.
I'm going to say it again. Good feat for a big man there from Hayden Slaughter. He's got a big wiry frame, and he found somehow a little window there to catch the little dish. Here is the turnover. Just what should be a simple underneath pass, but what a bid from Nathan Ragg to take it away from the defender, and just about crosses the feet over, touches the toes down behind the line, and Clapham, wow, they raced away from Chevron at the end of that first half. It is 8-4, and this could already be too much to come back from.
Was it Rag that provided that assist there?
It was Alex Brooks, I believe. Number 91. Linked it was at Bath University. Played a lot of GB night as a junior, and kind of for the main team, he was on the GB Open team that made the finals in Sakai, Japan in 2012. He was quite a young player, and he's been a stalwart of Clapham for many years now.
Now we'll be back with the second half to see if Chevron can get themselves back into this game. Right now, it's 8-4. Clapham are up against Chevron.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch,
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ulti.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our
our
work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the ultimate world and beyond.
Welcome back to the second half of the UK Ultimate National Championship final for the men's division. This is Chevron in the blue and Clapham in the white. And right now, as possibly expected, Benji, Clapham have had a very dominant first half. And Chevy, having sneaked past Alba in the semi-final, are struggling to make an impact in this final game.
Yeah, that semi-final you would have to expect probably took a lot out of Chevron. You know, winning it in sudden death, had to get the turnover on sudden death as well. You know, incredibly tight 12-11 on the end. And on the other hand, Clapham, I mean, to say they thumped Devon is an understating of thumpings. I mean, it was an absolute beatdown, 15-3 in the end.
Yes, and Devon are a good side. Let's not take that away from them. But when your O-line can only put 3 points in, then that just says so much for how dominant this Clapham defence is.
I mean, Clapham the Chevy O-line has turned it 7 times. The total number of turnovers for the Clapham O-line? Big fat zero.
Big fat zero, yes. You know, and to be expected. So we've got Mead on the field, Abrams over on the far side. On the near side is Alexis Long, and Abrams has it now. Passes back to Mead. Scurrying through is Ashley Yo. Back to Mead. And here's Briggs, who looks to send the flick, and there's Ford darting into the end zone. It looks so smooth, it looks so easy, and I'm afraid it looks a little bit predictable.
I mean, if you only got yourselves to blame, you know, a huck goes for a flick huck from Josh Briggs goes to Justin Ford. I mean, there are sometimes you can overthink it. Any defense that you're playing that allows, I mean, he's a good player, so Briggs is going to be able to break the mark and get those throws off in most situations. But any defense that lets him have those relatively easily, it's probably not the defense to play.
I mean, you've called it a number of times. Next time Briggs has got the disc, he is only looking one place. He's looking for the flick, and he's so deadly accurate. He didn't pound this one.
He didn't need to.
He just floated it into Ford's path, and very, very impressive.
Just a
work.
little frosting on it. It's beautiful. Well, I think what that defense is trying to do is they're trying to keep Clapham moving it around the backfield a lot. You know, they're slightly diamondy downfield, so they're trying to, you know, again, sag lanes, try and make the middle difficult to hit. But Clapham did the right thing. They were using the full width of the pitch, and because they've kind of only got 3 handler defenders back, you have a player coming back as a 4th handler. If someone doesn't come and track that, you get a player who's, in this case, Josh Briggs, who moved downfield so he can come back into that handler set. And now you've got Josh Briggs without a force. You're in a lot of trouble.
A lot of trouble. Ben Funk with a rolling pull. There's a little kick up and catch from Ethan Morrell. Very classy.
For ball.
And Morrell now looking downfield for options and finds Deck Cartwright. looking for a way out of the situation he's in. Floats it back for Cheeseman, who catches in stride. Turner, and the disc. Oh, Turner had turned and he just caught out the corner of his eyes the fact Cheeseman had thrown it. Chevron looking all sorts of out of place. Confusion, disconnections. They'll be so sad to see the game drifting away from them like this. Thompson now, Joe Thompson sends a flick to the far side. Who's going to be underneath it? Almost connected, almost got. It was Phil Garner sliding.
It's James Freeman.
Sorry, James Freeman sliding into this near side.
It's difficult because you're not usually making a catch like that, where it's kind of sliding away from you. And part of the problem there is he's going with his right hand on top. So it's kind of going in and he's rather than it being more natural with his left hand on top as from that angle, he's kind of turning his wrists a little bit to get the right hand on top, and that makes the catch more difficult for himself.
Warwick University connection there. Joe Thompson and James Freeman, both ex-Warwick Uni.
Where they formerly of Bear Cavalry as well, when they were the best mixed team in the UK. Or have I pulled that out of nowhere?
No, you're absolutely quite right about that. Ben Funk just running out of bounds with the disc in hand. Thompson looks deep, decides not to throw it on this occasion. And this is oh no, just about to say this is Clapham being super careful with the disc, but Andy Hillman sends a fake that is bitten on a little bit too hard. But what a disc is that? Chevron in it's 6s and 7s at the moment. They don't know quite how to get themselves to steady the ship, to put a few passes together and start to dominate this game. And it's difficult to see how they're going to get themselves back into this.
It's a struggle. It's a real struggle, Tom. I think that's the third turnover of the point now for Chevron. Clapham have had 2 of their own, but you cannot continually give teams the quality of Clapham multiple chances to break you, because it's going to happen eventually. And I think Chevron know it. Now that is sensible, if not boring, from Ben Funk.
Yes, just call the timeout. And it's 9-4 to Clapham here at the in the Open Division final from the UK Ultimate National Championships. We're in Nottingham at the Highfield Sports Stadium, Sports Ground,
Sports Complex,
Sports thing. It's a beautiful place for Ultimate,
isn't it? Just
Benji. We're in a pavilion overlooking the field. We're standing next to our ulti.TV camera crew and our tech crew. We've got Chips working the camera. We've got Rob Henderson, Nottingham University.
I mean,
he's a Nottingham guy.
He's a man of the world.
He's a local. Felix from Felix Ultimate is up here as well, pressing the buttons. And Milan is lurking somewhere around, who's driven across from Amsterdam for the weekend, part of the sort of management team of the ulti.TV.
I think he's on the socials at the moment.
Is he pressing the buttons?
He is making hashtag content. I believe it's what the kids say. I'm well aware that no one has ever said that.
So, a good question. Does Chevy have a coach? Now, Chevy did used to have a coach. It did used to be Lucy Barnes, but I've not seen her nearby, and she has been playing
for Iceni, so I imagine
she's been busy.
Yes.
It's one of the... when these two teams play against each other, the lack of coaches doesn't really seem that unusual, because neither of them regularly play with a coach. Jamie Cross for a while was taking charge of the Clapham situation, but I don't see him here this weekend.
Yeah, both teams tend to prefer to have coaching kind of from within the roster already.
Yes.
Rather than kind of an official, this person is our coach.
It's only when you go to one of the big European Championships or the big World Championships you realise that this is the anomaly. This is unusual at a high level, to not have a coach who's impartial, whose job it is just to look at the big situation, to make those big strategic calls, away from someone who's got the heat of the game itself to deal with. And that's unusual. And the UK has got a long history of player coaches. It might be something that we want to look at in the future. Big shot downfield. Freeman chasing this. He's got the wheels. He's got the separation from Dathan. He catches it high, and Clapham invade the pitch with another cheer of more, and they take the game to 10-4.
Redemption that time from James Freeman. Made a drop with a sliding grab this time. He's going right hand on top again, but it's a lot easier from that backhand outside in rather than from the flick outside in. And, you know, just a little jump as well to make sure that he's staying relatively steady. And he'd beaten Dathan free by a couple of yards, but this is all in the throw from Andy Lewis. He's getting the disc in power position. Mendes on the backside, and it's a real wind-up. I mean, there's no doubt what he's looking for. And he uncorks a howitzer right deep, and James Freeman, as you know, he'd got the separation. All he had to do was secure the catch, and the catch is secured, and Clapham are, to say, do you think they're fired up? 10-4. Yeah. They look like a team on a mission.
They absolutely are. And at this point, you know, the Chevy O-line is now starting to rotate through some of their D-line players because they've been on the field non-stop pretty much for the last, what have they played?
I mean, the Clapham O-line has only played 5 points out of the 14 we've played so far.
Yeah, and the Chevy O-line have played 9.
And the Clapham O-line have not turned it at all. And it's a lot easier to do that when your O-line's staying relatively fresh.
Let's have a look. We will come back to that in just a moment. Dewalla for Chevron. Jump from Cameron. Eventually manages to get across.
Did he get a little piece of that?
Might have done a little piece. Oh, contact on the boot. No question there's going to be a foul call there. McHale can't have much to complain about. And he's uncontesting it.
He looked frustrated. I don't think he was frustrated at the call. He was just frustrated because I think he feels that he probably could have got it if he hadn't tripped him up.
Yes. A real talented athlete, former pole vaulter, I believe, as well.
Pole vault's so weird, and I appreciate that saying that as a physical commentator.
Fast cuts downfield.
Fast hands there from Andy Turner to keep that one alive.
Pick called.
Thanks to the sideline for being very clear with their hand signals. Greatly appreciated. I'm so happy hand signals came in. Oh, the throw's off target. And who's there to mop it up but Alex Brooks?
Brooks back with the disc in hand. Throws that little break side backhand. Gets it back. Good distribution across the back of the line here to Cragg. McHale looks down the line. Cragg is cutting. He floats it into space. Delayed his cut. Dewalla thought he was going to go back. He paused, and that was all that McHale needed as an invitation to just post it into space. And despite the attention of 2 Chevy players, the timing of that disc and that cut were perfect. And they have established a 6 or 7 point margin now. Clapham in a massive position of advantage now.
This is as big a lead in a national final as I can remember for Clapham. They are absolutely trouncing Chevy here. And that time, Dewalla, the way he's positioned in between himself and he can't be positioned in between himself, doesn't work. In between his mark in Cragg and Conor McHale, he doesn't necessarily have eyes in the disc. He's face marking a little bit. So as soon as he stops, Conor McHale sees that he doesn't have eyes on the disc, so he can put that throw into space for Cragg to attack. Turner comes in from the backside, puts the bid in, but it's in vain. Yeah, Dewalla just doesn't see the disc till it's too late. Cragg's already got the steps on him. And that is 11-4, Tom Styles. 11-4. Wow.
It's well, we have seen Clapham do this to teams before.
And that is, again, the last D point where Clapham broke. Conor McHale wasn't on the field, so he couldn't throw the assist. That time he was, and so that time he did.
Deep shot downfield, big bid from Clapham, and another turnover.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of contact there between Butt and Sax Dixon, which, as we mentioned, I think there's like 13 feet combined between the two of them. But they just got suckered a little bit underneath the disc. So Sax Dixon decided that actually there was contact, but we didn't. But the catch was not going to be made anyway. So the turnover stands.
Clapham, not a good disc out of the hands of Felix Martin, but Freeman grabs that. Oscar de Mondiano. Good work getting free from Butt. Slaughter looks across, looks downfield, finds a way through to Rag. Rag with a very distinctive hair. Looking for something, it just floats it into space. Running onto that is Martin.
It's the revolutions that they're getting on the disc that make these throws so comfortable to catch. So much spin generated.
Martin reaches up and grabs, floats it into the end zone, and it's another point. And is there being some, there has been a point awarded. There's mucho cheering from up here on the balcony, where some of the players may be enjoying some of the hospitality.
Hey, there is a lot of cheering. It is not from up here on the balcony where we are perfectly impartial. This is from below us. I just need to make sure that we're clarifying that here. We have no rooting interest. But 12-4 now. I mean, this is they're getting absolutely boat raced. Yeah, I know.
Raced.
I've said that on. It's a perfectly cromulent word, Tom.
Let's have a look at this deep shot from Chevron. No hands anywhere near it. Rolo Sax Dixon, like you said, Benji, just getting sucked into it a little bit.
And then Mondiano finds the upline cut from Felix Martin, catches it. I'm not sure what the call would have been. Maybe a travel. Can't quite see it from that angle, and in the end, I think Keim says if there was, it probably didn't really have that much of an effect anyway. Freeman gets another goal to add to his tally. That's his second so far today, and it's a 12-4 scoreline for Clapham, who they could already taste the champagne, I think, from another national championship.
I think they probably can. And you know what? I don't think this is the game that Clapham wanted. They like to be pushed hard. They like to be challenged. They like to be, given a really tough match. And I've seen them, play some of the best ultimate when they are being pushed to their very limit. They're not being pushed to the limit right here by Chevron at the moment. Chevron have got much better games in the locker, and they really need to dig deep now if they're going to show some of that potential.
You wonder how much that nail-biting semi-final against Alba really took out of them.
Well, they had 4 different options that they had to look off there because of the Clapham pressure. It's not through the lack of hard running or the lack of ability that they're having to take away these options. It's just the pressure from Clapham going to ground there to keep it alive. This is definitely not Chevron's typical O-line, but right now this is what they're having to play with, because every other option has been shut down, closed down, or exhausted by Clapham's impressive defence.
I'll tell you what I notice about this Chevron line. With the exception maybe of Seb Allen, who's been a fixture on Chevron for years, it's quite a young line, isn't it? I think they're letting some of the younger guys get out there and have a chance and have a go.
And they might just work for them as well. It's a point for Chevron. A big disc into the end zone. A great grab in the end zone. And exactly as you called it, the Chevy youth, the future of the team, are doing the work and getting it into the end zone for a great score.
I think that's an Ubu product, one of a few on Chevron. Adam Vaslik with the score, if the notes that Bevan gave us yesterday are correct. I'm trying to dig in the memory banks. I am, by the way, always happy to be corrected. Be that on Twitter, where you can find us at Benjamin Rees or at Tom Styles, or in the YouTube chat. Please call us out if we get anything wrong. Genuinely, it's good to always get people involved, and B, if people never tell us when we're wrong, how do we improve?
We've always got the growth mindset, Benji. As all
Oh
the
my
best
word,
players.
that is like proper David Brent style business speak, isn't it?
Yes.
Yikes.
Ulti.TV bringing you the coverage here from Nottingham at the UK Ultimate National Championships in the men's division. It's Clapham marching towards yet another title. And we think this is 20, don't we, Benj?
Yes, I'll be honest. I'm not sure. I should have asked, but I can't. I was in such a panic that I forgot. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough.
Oh, we got some trivia questions to answer in a
There
second.
we are. If someone in chat could tell us
Yes.
how many they've won in the row and what number this would be, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Oh, and Chevron have got a turnover.
That's the first time the Clapham O-line has turned and just showed a bit too much of that disc to the wind. It popped it up, went over Ford's hand. There was a layup bit to try and save it, but it didn't come up. And now Chevron have their first break chance of the game.
There we go. There's Josh East. Dewalla looking downfield. And just watch how hard the Clapham O-line are going to work to try and get this disc back. Ollie Gordon coming to cover. Josh East available again. Boshes it forward, downfield. Gets it back into the hands of Sweetenham. Sweetenham floats it around. A high disc. Hammer to the break side. Oh, that is beautiful. Chevy earning the first break of the game for them with a hammer of quality. And I don't think Clapham will be panicking just yet, but we have seen a glimpse of the performance that Chevy do have.
Kind of feel a little bit sorry for the Chevron D-line because so far they are 100% on break opportunities. The problem is they haven't generated enough of them. Their first run of the game, and they take it in emphatic style. There we are. The disc just pops up. The bid comes in to try and keep it alive. I think from Orcock, but he can't get there. Floated out to the break side. Plenty of space, plenty of time. Ping point to ping the hammer to Andy Turner. Shows the crowd, get a little bit of hype and a bit of love going, and you know that's the win is unlikely. Let's be honest.
Let's have a good game.
But if Chevron can get maybe a couple more breaks on the board, then at least they can apply a bit of pressure to Clapham. And as you mentioned, they haven't really had this sort of tournament environment for a couple of years.
No.
Last time they did, they crumbled in that Europeans final to Kuzbla Fota. Who knows?
James Mead that'll be one of his first turnovers, probably for the tournament, I suspect. He will not be a player accustomed to turning over very much, and he'll be very disappointed just to show a little bit too much of the underside of the disc there. I know that several of the Clapham players do keep kind of diaries and notes of their turnovers, and there'll be another one to add to the book after that. Axel Amala just throwing out ahead of Josh Briggs. But he needed Superman arms to catch that one. And it's they've done it again. 2 breaks in a row. And just when we thought the game was over, Chevron are showing, don't disrespect us, boys. We are a good team and we will punish your mistakes.
Just when I thought I was out, they keep pulling me back in. Seb Allen to Adam Vassler, I think it is again that time. But credit Chevron, because they could have just rolled over, but again, it's only the second break chance they've had, but they've taken both of them. And you have to credit, the fact that they've been able to show that, what's the word I'm looking for, precision with those break opportunities.
So Axel Amala there needed a bit more of the air underneath the disc. Maybe he was being cautious.
Yeah, strangely profligate from Clapham these past few points.
Yeah, they don't tend to give the disc away very often. There's still a 5-point lead, though. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But Chevron doing very, very nicely with a couple of breaks. 3 points in a row they've scored. To go from 12-4 to 12-7, they're going to need to go on a run that lasts a little longer. We have seen this sort of thing happen. I'm going to go way back into my memory, and Steve Giguere is probably going to end up drinking some beer, because I'm sure he has a drinking game about me mentioning anything over 10 years old. But Chevy North, or no, Chevy South, Chevron split themselves into a North and South team, and I remember Chevy South went on a 7-point defensive run to beat Clapham in a Tour 1 in Bristol in a very muddy game. I remember it was a fantastic match for anyone on the sideline. Justin Ford now I don't think he was playing in that team at that point. Abrams puts the disc down onto the turf again. Josh breaks the target, and Clapham have got a little bit of the nerves.
These throwing errors are so strange from the Clapham team that's normally so parsimonious on offense. They're so stingy with giving the disc away, and that time, maybe because they haven't been in the game necessarily too much, Abrams, coming in a little cold perhaps, he's showing too much of that disc to the wind as well, and it flutters and it drifts and it hits the turf. And if Chevron again can keep up the 100% conversion ratio, we are really in for something.
Chevy looking downfield, floats one across to the far side. Sam Cameron the target. It takes it with a big high grab. There's a deep shot option available. Josh East the target. He's going to have to get on the bike there. He flies. He scores. Josh East is the hero, and he gets the cheers from the crowd. Every single neutral in the stand is going for this as a big comeback. And it's 4 points in a row to Chevron. It's 3 breaks in a row to Chevron. And the fans are loving a little bit of comeback.
I think the future of Chevron is here, Tom Stiles. They're showing that they mean business. Sam Cameron there, the disc was high, and he spiked the hat early, so it wasn't going to fall off and get in the way. Climbed the ladder to make the grab, put the put deep. East was chasing after it. Did he need to lay out for it?
Who cares? It was a magnificent bid.
As long as he made the catch, I'm not sure it really matters. And a little bit of showboating, get the crowd hyped up, get your team hyped up. Yeah, and he just about keeps it in his grasp as well, going with the 2 hands to properly secure it. 4 on the bounce now. They've created 1 turnover apiece on the last 3 Clapham High points, and that's all they've needed to create, because each time they've gone right down the other end and scored.
Well, the game of momentum it is such a big factor in Ultimate, and you can see Clapham, well, they're still not looking like they're concerned or panicking, but they're definitely having a little chat and a bit of a scratch of the head about how do we stop the rot here, because there's no doubt the crowd are willing everything to go Chevron's way, and they will cheer every opportunity they generate and every point they score. And they just need to get back on the bike and start scoring some points of their own. So that the story of the second half is started with 4 points to Clapham, and we've just had 4 points to Chevron. So we're back at that 4-point margin that we had at the start of this half, but right now the comeback is definitely on.
Nothing would hold the momentum in its tracks more than an incredibly boring, calm, consistent 0 point from Clapham.
Ollie Gordon has to get past a big bid. Well, you can see how fired up Chevron are, scuttling after every single disc. 2 players, they're calling a pick on each other. They were miles from their defenders. What's your view of that?
I'd have to see it again.
Well, and we may get the opportunity thanks to the miracle of instant replay.
I think Briggs is trying to check it in quickly so that we're not able to do that. And this time it's the backhand put from Briggs with that voluptuous IO shape for Ollie Gordon. There we go. And the stadium has gone deathly silent as Clapham finally put another 0 point in.
It was only going to last so long, wasn't it? The assist by Briggs. The score by OG. Ollie Gordon. Remember Ollie Gordon with his breakout appearance in the Next Gen Tour. Do you remember the Next Gen Tour?
The very first Next Gen Tour back in 2011. Kind of got an email in his inbox out of nowhere back when he was at Uriel at the University of Exeter.
And said, we hear you're an exciting young player. Would you like to come across to America and be part of this upcoming stars going around the States in a bus?
Yeah, it was.
They played all the local sides.
Wild.
What an opportunity.
And I mean, huge for, he'd come off a tough loss in the Uni Nationals that year as well. They lost, Uriel went down in a very tight, tense semi-final to the eventual champions, who were the University of Sussex, which is why I bring it up.
That's why you remember it. Punch in the air next to us is Felix from FelixUltimate.com.
It's Hive Ultimate.
HiveUltimate.com.
It's about more than just Felix.
Clapham 13, Chevron 8. They're 2 points away from another national championships here in the Highfield Sports Stadium, sports ground here in Nottingham.
Football.
Keim stops the disc in its track as that rolling pull from Mikhail. Just asking a different question with the pull.
I think it's important as well, like when the Wisconsin Hodags were the dominant college team in the mid-noughties in the US, they had a player whose job it was specifically to stop the roll and pulls on windy conditions, so they were never starting in terrible field positions.
Is there a little bit of a float over the head, and this time Nathan Ragg capitalises on a slight mistimed jump from Keim. Couldn't bring it down. Thought he had read that perfectly, but maybe a slight gust got underneath it, and Mikhail just pops it out into the path of Garner, who flicks around the corner into the hands of Felix Martin. Looks underneath and finds Hillman. A perfectly timed pass from Martin. Hillman just grasping it, and it breaks around to Garner, who's got space and time to hit Slaughter, and there may be a pit call. There's no pit call. It's an easy point for Clapham, and with a turn and a break back, everything looks like it's going back the way of the London side. It's 14-8.
Just one more point the Bullfrogs need to win yet another national championship.
And we did say we would like to have a look at that Clapham pick call. So this is where the two Clapham players, look, neither of them are within 5 metres.
3 metres.
Well, yeah, no,
but they're not closely guarding.
No.
Yes, yeah.
And they called a pick. So
Didn't matter in the end though for Chevron, because that disc just floats over Keim's head, and Ragg's got enough pressure there to slap it down to the ground with 2 hands. Hillman looks for the inside break, doesn't get it at the first time of asking, so instead activates the reset, gets the upline cut for the around. Charlie Butt clears out, and Slaughter slides to his knees. We know that he's capable of incredible acrobatics and diving grabs. That time, just a casual little knee slide, like he's celebrating before he's almost scored. And it's 1 point now that Clapham need to become champions again.
Clapham 14, they're within 1 of their... I'm not sure if our commenters have managed to give us the number. I think it is 20. It's a damning indictment, isn't it, when we've lost count of how many national championships.
It's partly because we missed a year last year,
well,
so it throws you out of the rhythm.
That's definitely my excuse.
My excuse as well.
Turner busts up the line to receive the disc from Hodgett, blasts one down to Colthammer, who slides to the ground. Keeps the disc alive for Chevron. Back to Hodgett now. Dathan cutting across for the reset. Uses Morel instead, who has been absolutely solid in this game.
A lot of the young players for Chevron have really stepped up, especially in the second half.
Oh, just puts the one hand back to try and collect it, but can't do so. Mikhail is handed an opportunity to score. Mondiamo back in control. Mikhail jumps it in. Celebrates, and I think that is it. I think that is the championship. Mikhail certainly thinks it is. The rest of Clapham do. They squirt the water over each other, and with an emphatic win, despite some determined Chevron effort in the second half, getting a run of 3 breaks and sort of geeing the crowd and the rest of us to think that there might be a comeback on the cards. It's finished off strongly, with Clapham taking it 15-8. What a championship, what a team. And they walk off back to London with gold medals around their neck. Congratulations to Clapham.
Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. Chevron put a lot of pressure on in the first half. Didn't you say the momentum was all with them?
At one point.
Momentum is not real, Tom. It does not exist. I will die on this hill. Because it seemed like, oh wow, they put loads of points on the board. It calm hold from Clapham. Oh, actually, the momentum's gone. And from there, Clapham were just able to cruise home. They were good value in this game. They were good value all tournament. They were pushed at times in this game. Alba pushed them close as well. But you wonder how much that the intensity of that sudden death semi-final between Alba and Chevron actually did Clapham a huge favour here, because it meant that they didn't quite have enough in the tank, and they showed it at times, but they couldn't access it consistently enough to trouble Clapham, who are national champions once more.
division, the winners were Reading.
The presentation going on underneath here. I think that was Garner with the assist. So Mikhail with 1 goal and 4 assists, a big contribution. As you might expect, Josh Briggs got 4 assists in that game as well. Freeman with a couple of goals. Ollie Gordon with a couple of goals and an assist as well. But a good spread of play. We'd like to say thank you very much to everybody that's been involved in this coverage, from myself, Tom Stiles, and from Benji Rees. The whole ulti.TV crew this weekend have been fantastic. They've come across from Amsterdam, they've come up from the south coast. They've been well looked after.
They've even come from as far as Nottingham.
They have. They've been well looked after here by the UK Ultimate team, who have been great and gracious hosts and worked very well alongside us.
They always are, aren't they? I mean, I think people don't realise quite how much work goes into not what we do. So a huge, as you mentioned, shout outs to Felix, Rob, Chips and Milan, our wonderful ulti.TV crew, who put so much hard work and early mornings in behind the scenes and fix things on the fly. So generally everything works okay, which is a miracle given that it's all been in storage for 2 years. You know, the UKU team that put the tournament on, I mean, they work even longer days than we do. So Cy Hill and Meg and everyone involved this weekend does a phenomenal job. All our other commentators who hopped in the booth as well. Hannah Pendlebury, Ali Thomas, Harry Mason, even Rob popped in for half the game as well. It's been phenomenal having everyone here, and it's been so good to be back, Tom Stiles. Oh, it's good to be back.
And what makes all that possible is the support that we're getting from our members and Patreons. Then you can become a supporter of ulti.TV. All the coverage from ulti.TV will always be free and live, both to watch as the games are happening and after the games have finished on YouTube. And if you'd like to support the good work ulti.TV do, both in the UK, in Europe and around the world, you can do that by becoming a Patreon member.
A patron
on Patreon.
And you can patronise us.
And you can do that for as little as the price of a cup of coffee per month, as we see that incredible grab from Josh Briggs.
Josh East.
Sorry, it's Josh East. Oh, apologies, Josh East. Yeah, you can do that for as little as much of a price of a cup of coffee per month. Just support the growth and the coverage of Ultimate by giving some cash each month to people from the Ultimate community trying to grow the sport of Ultimate. And there's no better way to grow the sport directly than give us the opportunity to provide more coverage of more fields, more tournaments, and get more people behind the microphones, behind the cameras. Now, it's good to say also we have a mixed coverage team, both behind the microphones and also behind the cameras. Chips has been working the cameras for us, and it has been great to be part of that. Thanks to all the people in the comments, David Price and Steve Giguere, Ollie Benjamin, Tom Wood, Lorcan Murray is out there, and we very much appreciate your contribution, making the game fun for us to watch and commentate and share with you. But from myself, Tom Stiles, from Benji Rees, from all of us at UK Ultimate National Championships, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.
We are a group of Ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ulti.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Thanks, Cy Hill. Thanks for organising.
ulti.TV.
Clapham are doing some fashion.
If Albert being